to all you wonderful people out there. Whether you view me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, I want to say welcome to the Melting Pot. It's a usual broadcast. We call it the Melting Pot, and the Melting Pot is intended to have Liberian voices be heard. Those of us who are in the diaspora at home, we are of the opinion that what's going on in our home country in Liberia should be everyone's concern, right? And we should always have time to talk to our people, talk to our leaders, and see how we all can contribute towards developing issues in the country. What are our pieces of advice? What are some of our recommendations? And so the melting pot is one of those programs that we use to be a part of the conversation back home in Liberia. And so if you're joining me, I want to say welcome. And, if you're joining after the live, I want to say also welcome. Just share this live, or if you're coming on after, share the post. Don't only just share if you're viewing by way of LinkedIn. I would like you to say that follow me on LinkedIn. So next time I'm online, you can be notified I'm online. If you follow me on YouTube, I'll also say take up the time to also hit that subscribe button so the next time when I'm on live, you are able to follow the conversation. And if you're following me on Facebook, unfortunately, I cannot friend anyone else because I'm out of the number of people I can friend. But I think I have another profile that you can follow. Just follow instead of me being friends with you. Nothing personal, it's just that Facebook will not allow me to take more friends. So yeah, so let's get into some of this conversation. For this lunch break discussion, I want us to cover pretty much three topics that are trending in Liberia. So for the melting pot, sustainable Liberia Sustainable Development Think Tank, we want to discuss on three things. And thanks for joining me. The first is the House of Representatives in Liberia case that is with the Supreme Court, and we'll talk about that. We also want to talk about the LACC just released their report. In the summary of their report, there is just something small. I just want to comment about that. I posted about already. I just want to comment about that little thing that I saw. And and then the CISA, Josiah Joker, the CISA boss in Liberia, Civil Service Agency boss in Liberia, is doing quite a great job. I mean, he's doing pretty good job in Liberia there. But yeah, there are some areas that will need improvement, and there are some things that he's doing that catches some things he's doing that will catch our attention, and we want to comment on it. And the things I want to comment on the CSA right now will be the public announcement notice that he sent out, talking about withholding HR staff portion of their salaries, especially when it comes to people who maybe did not sign off on work attendance papers and stuff like that. And not only that, but people who were suspended by President Boyka about the whole thing about the asset declaration stuff. Yeah, we want to go over that pretty very briefly. I want to talk about it very briefly. So yeah, so I'm Dr. Clarence R. Pearson. Let's go into this conversation then quickly. So as we are aware, there is a bill of information that has been before the Supreme Court of Liberia for a while now. I think it was since December or so, or somewhere around there, since the conflict in the House of Representatives in Liberia. And of course, the whole argument in the House of Representatives is premised on just a couple of few things that, for the purpose of our listening audience, to understand a bit of information before the Supreme Court, you first must understand why the bit of information is there to begin with if you're new to the subject. So the reason why there's a bit of information before the Supreme Court from The House of Representatives Speaker Jay Funati Kofa, Councillor Kofa, is because he feels he has been illegally removed from his position as Speaker. Not necessarily removed, but his office has been usurped. And when we say usurp, we for the ordinary Liberian mean someone tried to kick him off of his job as Speaker of the House of Representatives. So then, how did that all happen? Just a quick recap. So, right after the 2023 elections in January, it's understandable that when we left from the 54th legislature, the one that that left from there when President Weah left office, and then the new legislature, which is the 55th. Every time we have a major presidential and legislative elections, when the new people who are elected go back into the House of Representatives and with the senators, they have to elect their own leaders. They go to elections and they elect their own leaders. So for the House of Representatives, President Boyka had intended to support uh, Richard Coon, the current purported speaker, who is called himself the regime speaker. So President Boyka had an intention to support Richard Coon, and as politics were usually playing, there were allegations of bribery, of attempt to bribe people to vote for Richard Coon. There was also an attempt by President Boyka to take Chief Funati, Councillor Kofa, to court, to the Supreme Court, challenging his citizenship. Aaron, that he had dual citizenship, and if he had dual citizenship, he must have denounced his Liberian citizenship in the process. Not just that, but at the time we had this naturalization law, or this citizenship law in the country, where there was some restriction as to if someone holds dual citizenship, at what level can he hold certain office in Liberia. So all of those things would have been cards that President Boyka would have played. But unfortunately for President Boyka is that his desire to dominate within the House of Representatives, as he would also have the opportunity to dominate in the Senate, with Senator Yomdi Kanga Lawrence, who was part of his campaign team and supported his bid for the presidency, even though she comes from another political party, not the Unity Party, but he had this political alliance. So President Boyka did not succeed in getting Funati Kofa not to emerge victorious over Richard Coon. All right, so that was not possible. So Funati became speaker, but then again, I think President Boyka still had interest in ensuring that whoever is speaker in the House of Representatives should be somebody from his own bloc, from his own alliance. So he did not give up the pursuit for that position. So he will go on to make several other attempts to induce members of the House of Representatives financially to get Speaker Kofa out of that position as Speaker of the House of Representatives. So some of you might be asking, why is that a major issue? Why is it relevant to President Boyka? Because it's relevant to him because if President Boyka has someone who is Speaker of the House of Representatives, this is the person who controls the agenda in the official section of the House of Representatives. They are able to manipulate who can put motion on the floor. They can manipulate what to even put on the floor for voting. And they can even manipulate the voting process instead of people maybe voting by ballot where they can, or hair count. They could just do a yay, no, and then manipulate the process and get it forthwith. But So, but there are a lot of people who believe that Funari Kofa was already favorable to President Boyka based on certain statements he's already made in the past. And just being speaker, for instance, he will say he wants to work with President Boyka to push the agenda of the Liberian people. He was not looking for any contention and all of those things. And besides that, there's some relationship between President Boyka and Speaker Funati Kofa, in terms of some family linkage, whether because of his wife, being connected to President Boyka or something like that. But there was something to that effect. So a lot of people did not think that President Boyka, seeing how his relationship with Speaker Kofa was going so far, that President Boyka was still insist to want to have him removed and replaced by someone that favor his alliance. So to fast forward, somewhere around in 2024, about I think August or something like that, way before the conflict really started, there was rumor of that Richard Kuhn, Representative Richard Kuhn was was gunning for Kofa's position, meaning he was seeking after Speaker Kofa's position, even though he didn't successfully win the election for that position, but he was still going after it. But here is the thing though. When Richard Kuhn was approached by the media, he has said clearly that he had no interest in going after Speaker Kofa, but it's political, so you can understand why he will make that statement. But then he said he wouldn't do that, and that rumors that he were manipulating, not manipulating, but influencing his peers, using some financial inducement to get them to collaborate with him against Speaker Kofa to have him removed, even though he said it was not true, but that will suffice to be a lie. And then in between October, November, the country gets to realize that indeed there was a plot to have Speaker Kofa removed, and that people were receiving up to 15,000 like United States dollars in order to sign a resolution to have Speaker Kofa removed. Um, that backfire as some of the representatives who did not support the idea broke silence on the issue, on the plot, and even seized some of the monies that were being paid and reported it to the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission for investigation. To make long matters short, President Boykai will go on to support that group of lawmakers who were bent on having Speaker Kofa removed. They were around numbers like 43 lawmakers, 43 that wanted Speaker Kofa removed. But there are a few things that could not allow them. First of all, the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia, Article 33, does say clearly, the 1986 Constitution of Liberia, Article 33, does say clearly that a simple majority constitute a quorum for the House of Representatives. Even for the Senate, a simple majority constitute a quorum. But the same Constitution provides that in Article 49 of the same Constitution provides that every 6 years, the House of Representatives will have to vote and elect from amongst themselves a speaker and a deputy speaker. And the speaker should be the presiding officer of the House of Representatives. So, in other words, every time the House of Representatives congregate or comes together for section, then the speaker now, who has been elected by his peers, will preside over them, making that role, a little bit more above the regular representative that are in the House because he has more edge. So a speaker will be elected, a deputy speaker will be elected, and they must serve for the term of that elected body. However, in Article 49, the same constitution also state that, okay, but just in case this influential speaker who is presiding over the sections of you guys when you come together as equals among equals, if you feel for some reason you do not want him for a cause, you have the right to vote him out based on your own resolution of of disenchantment, and then you must have to achieve that you need to have at least two-thirds majority. And because the current House of Representatives is 73 people, two-third majority of the 73 people is 48.6, and because you don't have zero point 0.6 human being, obviously it's going to be, if you round it up, it becomes 49 people. So to get 49 people to remove the speaker, the guys who didn't want Speaker Kofal to remain as speaker doing the biddings of President Boycott only have 43, so they couldn't get the 49 that they needed. In their bid, in their lobby through financial inducement, backfire on them, so they could not get the 49. So you understand that in politics, it is not it's not bad to lobby against your peers and to have them voted out as speaker if you want to. The constitution allows that, but you must have two-thirds of the vote. And for the current number of the guys who are in the House of Representatives voted in 2023, they are 73. Two-thirds mean you have to have 49. So, but the guys decided to pave it. Since they couldn't get the 49 votes, they decided to pave it and to argue that they will only rely on Article 33 that says a simple majority constitute a quorum. And so they will walk out of the regular session, business session of the House of Representatives, and will go in another hall and hold what they will call section. But meanwhile, the same Article 33 of the 1986 Constitution provides that if you are serving as speaker and you have people who are gathering votes against you to amount to two-thirds, if they do not have that vote, they cannot remove you. Let's keep them, make that clear. They must have that vote, two-thirds. So in the current situation, it's 49. So the Constitution now, having provided a presiding officer for the House of Representatives, also protect that body by saying, if you convene, and even if you have the simple majority for section, the presiding officer is obviously, knownly, constitutionally, is the Speaker of the House of Representatives. It's just not anybody. The definition presiding officer is clearly defined by the Constitution. That presiding officer is the speaker. In the absence of the speaker, the deputy speaker. The absence of the speaker, but clarity requires that the speaker is not available for section. And if he's not available for section, yes, the deputy speaker will take his place. But these 43 guys who gather in another room because they feel they have the simple majority, if the 43, then the others cannot get the simple majority where they are. So there will be around 30, something at 30. So they don't have the simple majority, the whole section. But they too cannot hold section because they are not within the confines of the law. They do not have the legitimate presiding officer. So that became contentious. It became a reason for argument. So this ended up reaching before the courts because the 43 guys now were taking actions like suspending their peers, trying to remove the speaker and elect a new speaker, and all of those things also out of the confines of the Constitution of Liberia. Remember, I'm using the word Constitution of Republic of Liberia. And the reason why I'm emphasizing the Constitution is because any other laws outside of the Constitution that contravenes the Constitution, they consider, to the extent that they've contravened the Constitution, null and void. So it can be the House rules, it can be any other legislation. If it contravenes the Constitution, It cannot stand. It's just that simple. So before the Supreme Court, Kofa, Speaker for Nati Kofa, raised a complaint that, listen, these guys, members, some members of our house are out there and they are functioning outside of the laws. Even though they say they have the common majority, but they don't have the speaker's presence to validate their sitting. And not only that, Article 33 also does not only require a simple majority, but it says where the simple majority cannot be achieved, that fewer number described as minority can adjoin and meet one adjoin every day, come and adjoin every day and see how they can get the peers to come. However, the fact that the Constitution say that they can meet every day and adjoin because they do not have a quorum suggests that the group who may be, if they are in good number that can constitute a quorum, they do not have the authority to hold section because they are outside of the official section where the presiding presides with a minority. So there where the argument was centered. And so when the Supreme Court heard this situation, based on a petition prayed to them by Speaker Kofa and the other 29 lawmakers who felt that the other guys are taking illegal actions, the Supreme Court interpretation was clear. First of all, the Supreme Court said that, look, I know you guys are arguing in there that this is a political affairs, meaning there are three branches of government. Each branch in Article 3 says there's a separation of powers. The three branches of government should operate independently. But Article 26 also gave the Supreme Court the right and the authority that if anyone feels their right is being violated under the Constitution, they have the right to come to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has the authority. I'm using the word the authority, meaning they are the only one with that authority to hear any form of complaint that has to do with constitutional breach. So if you contravene the Constitution, the Supreme Court said we have the right, the constitutional mandate to hear the complaint and to clarify the extent to which the Constitution has been breached. So they made that clear. Article 26 of the 1986 Constitution. They did not stop there. They said, but however, we looked into the complaint filed by Speaker Kofa. And what we've noticed is that in as much as Speaker Kofa, you have the minority, which is referred to in Article 33, you do not have the simple majority that the same Article 33 requires for you to hold section. So according to the Constitution, you will have to adjourn day after day and find ways to get your colleague to come to join you to get the quorum you need to do business, the simple majority you need to do business. However, we are looking at your own rules because the Constitution provides that you have the right to formulate your own rules to govern yourself in addition to what the Constitution provides. But that you do not have any rules or anything in your rule that say how to compel your friends to come and attend section, even though your Constitution encourages you to go and find a way to get them to come to section. Since you do not have any rule, so you still have to adjoin and find that way, however way, until you guys can make a rule. And then the Supreme Court went on to say that, and on the other side, you guys who are considering yourself the majority and who claim to have the simple majority to form a quorum to hold section, we find you to be in problem because whenever you meet and you have a quorum, the Constitution defines who your presiding officer is in Article 49. The Constitution provides the presiding officer that is mentioned in Article 33 of the Constitution, that say presides over that quorum, is clearly defined in Article 49, that says it is the speaker that you will elect every 6 years in the deputy speaker. So if the speaker is around and is available, capacitated, he's able to do his job, he should be your presiding to make your quorum legitimate. If he's not there to preside on the framework that he's not available at all, then the deputy speaker should preside, right? So your problem with you is that the speaker is present. So if you claim you have a majority and you constitute a quorum, then the speaker that should be sitting in your quorum should be your speaker, the duly elected speaker. But if you say you have a problem with the speaker, then you must revert to the same Article 49 that says if you want to remove him, you must have 2/3 majority to remove him. So the Constitution does not say that you will not have differences. Yeah, you may have differences. You may have reservation. You may not have the speaker may not have your confidence. But to whatever degree your speaker does not have your confidence, that degree should be to the extent that you have 49 votes to exercise that I don't have confidence. So your I don't have confidence should be able to obtain 49 votes in order to express that vote of no confidence. 49 votes must be cast to remove the speaker. And it has to be done under the gavel of the speaker, where you will announce your dissatisfaction, your resolution, your complaint. He will have to recuse himself and sit aside, and then you will have to then test your strength of no confidence and get 49 votes and have your speaker removed. In the absence of that, anything you do, and in the absence of the condition that we also discussed with the minority guys, in the absence of those conditions we just clarified based on the Constitution, the two groups, you guys, anything you guys do will be ultra various, meaning it's outside of the bounds of the law, the Constitution. So you'll go back and you'll settle this thing. So, in other words, return to status quo ante. Status quo ante means go back to where you were when the conflict first started and do the right thing. Have the 49 votes, remove the man, and then amend your laws to also show how you're going to compel your friends to come back to session in the event this thing happen again. So the guys go back. The 43 refused to go back to status quo ante, even though they did not have the 49 vote that will express their dissatisfaction in the current speaker. They continue the business as usual, and they continue to violate the laws. To make matter worse, the executive branch of government, who's supposed to execute the law, decided to take side in the conflict by taking actions that will promote the guys in the majority who they wanted to take over the speakership. So they will send the cabinet minister there. President Brokaw will send cabinet ministers to them to legitimize them. President Brokaw will send the Liberian National Budget to them to legitimize them. And what that means is that, so if they seem to be working, then it means that they are the right group in the eyes of the public. So that's the idea behind President Broka's action. And not only that, President Brokaw will allow them to be able to take steps like control the entire budget of the House of Representatives, leaving the legitimate speaker and a minority group that the Constitution provides that they can meet from day to day in the joint while waiting to find a way to get their friends to come. Someone will say, but then the Liberian government will be stagnated, there's no budget, and other kind of thing, the budget has to be passed. Well, because something has to be done and would not be done if it's not done the right way, doesn't mean to say it should be done the wrong way. It's as simple as that. You need to follow the law. So because of the violations facilitated by President Boyka, Speaker Kofa still decided not to go to those guys, to the guys. And then for some reason, to further legitimize these 43 guys, President Boyka allowed his justice minister, which is a member of the executive branch of government appointed by the president and can be dismissed by the president, who takes instruction from the president, to give a ruling that says the Supreme Court support the guys who President Booker supports. So then the Senate also agree and say, oh yeah, if that's the case, since we support President Booker too, then we'll flow with this Justice Minister's interpretation of the Supreme Court opinion to also do business with these guys and pass an illegal budget and do other things alongside with them. So Speaker Kofa said, if that is the case, then let me go back to the Supreme Court and let the Supreme Court tell us clearly. If there's confusion, then clarify the confusion. Because for me, I understand your ruling very clearly that whatever they're doing is wrong. And if we should do anything else out of quorum, we're also wrong until we can get them to come. So why would one side of the group be violating this opinion and they expect us to obey this opinion? Meanwhile, the president have sided with this wrong group and they are taking actions that are injuring us, meaning hurting us, breaking our offices, seizing our salaries, removing people from legitimate committees. So that is a problem. All right. So the court delayed for long, but now they were heard. The arguments were heard. So what we're hearing is that in the argument that was heard on the 14th, I think, this gone 14th, the illegitimate group lawyers went to answer to the Bill of Information. They said the Supreme Court should throw the whole matter out because the Supreme Court does not have jurisdiction. And not only that, the Supreme Court does not have jurisdiction, it's a political affairs and there should be separation of powers. The Supreme Court has no reason to interfere, which is wrong. And that's where my point come in before I close on this subject. Why is it wrong? That's what I'm on now. It's wrong because number one, when anyone in the country, it can be the least person in Liberia, the least person, if you feel that your constitutional right is being violated, you do not go to the legislature to get that interpretation of whether the laws, your rights is violated or not. You do not go to President Parker. You don't go to the president and say, oh, I came to, because I feel my constitutional right is being violated. The only body that have the right to look into constitutional violation is the Supreme Court under Article 26 of the 1986 Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. So the lawyers of the majority black, they're dead wrong. They are dead wrong. The Supreme Court does have jurisdiction. And the fact that the Supreme Court did an opinion that they all ran over and said the Supreme Court ruled in their favor, it means to say they even acknowledge the Supreme Court authority to clarify the Constitution if they feel it is being contravened. So if they are saying now that that the bill, because of the Bill of Information, the Supreme Court does not have jurisdiction over the matter, then why did they run with it with the Justice Minister interpretation wrong and say the Supreme Court ruled in their favor? So what sense does that make? So are you saying we can only obey the law when the law is in your favor and you cannot obey the law if the law is not in your favor? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So we're still waiting because I think on the 25th of this month, the Supreme Court will be bringing a clarification that we need. All right, on this matter. And I think it's important for our country. It is important for our democracy as we continue to improve on how we govern our country. The rule of law and adherence to the rule of law is very important. There is no democracy that can thrive in absence of the rule of law. And if anyone feels above the law, then there's a problem for our country. Also, we want our future generation to know that there has to be respect for the rule of law. Okay, of law. So what are we looking forward to? We're looking forward to the Supreme Court to clarify that listen, our instructions were clear, and this exactly what our instruction meant. And if that clarifies that the guys are acting outside of the confines of the law, then they must return to status quo ante. If they claim that they have no confidence in the speaker, that no confidence, to the extent that no confidence is strong enough, should be at the vote of 49 of their peers. That is how your no confidence is expressed. It's not expressed in emotions and yelling and breaking of the law. It's expressed in the confines of the law. That's what we're saying. In closing on this subject, if the Supreme Court comes up and say that the ruling is not as what the Justice Minister of President Boakai decided by his interpretation, then it is important that President Boakai, who was misled by the Senate, not by the Senate, but by the Justice Minister, should be dismissed. He should be dismissed. Why should he be dismissed? He should be dismissed because he misled the government. He misled the president. He misled the Ministry of Finance and the planning. And public money and gave it to individuals who did not have the legitimate right to be holding the country's money, which is the budget of the House of Representatives. He must be suspended because he gave legitimacy to these guys through the president's office by misleading them so that they facilitated their crimes in violation of the laws. He should be dismissed. The legal advisor to the president, Bush Ben Keita, should also be dismissed. Why is this necessary? It's necessary because at the end of the day, Liberia must reach to a place where we are governed by laws and not by men. Like President Boakai said when he was taking over the country, he wants to govern with transparency and accountability. This is the time to prove it, and this is the time to show it. Must be courageous enough to reverse their decision to work with the so-called majority guys because they are acting outside of the law, and revert also to status quo ante. That's how the country should be run. And if anybody want to argue this or political stuff, and they will say this, there cannot be good governance and genuine politics outside of the rule of law. It doesn't work like that. Now, let me move over to a conversation around the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission. The Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission. So we want to thank the chair lady of the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission for issuing her report for 2024. And then she did a summary of that report. And she listed cases of individuals that they have some issue of alleged corruption, that they're investigating. The list there's nothing wrong with the list in terms of how they intend to list people, what the allegations are against them. But there is a comment that I made on their website, on the page, the Facebook page, under their post, and I did a post myself. And this is my comment. When you look at this spreadsheet or the chart that they summarize the list of cases that came before them in 2024, they got a section there that says status. Status means, so we got this complaint, we got this individual name, we got this complaint, this allegation, we got maybe the amount that is being accused of, we got the date that so started happening in terms of the investigation on them, and then at the end they got somewhere that they got a column that says status, and under the status column they just got complete. The problem with that is that when I look at the expression under the status that says complete, it means you have closed the case. But that's not what they're communicating. What they're communicating seems to be that these are the cases that are on our docket, and these are the cases that we're investigating, and these are the cases that are supposed to go to court, and these cases are so many, but we do not have a specialized court to hear these cases. It's going to take us some time, and probably we'll even be hoping and wishing that we will have one day a specialized court that will prosecute these cases. So that's what I'm hearing. In other words, I said, when I look at it like that, I just say complete. Either you've closed those cases altogether, or you for me, it's just in the wind, right? But it doesn't seem that you've closed those cases. So what I was recommending to them, and I'm recommending to anyone from the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission who is listening to this broadcast, is that you can do a couple of things in that status column. You can say a couple of things. You can say, um, so John Brown case, under status, you can say under investigation. It tells me when I'm just looking at that, this person is under investigation. Or you can say also pending prosecution. The person can be under investigation, or you may pass the investigation stage now, but it's just pending prosecution. It's clear. Another thing you could say in addition to that, if the person is under investigation, good, is there. If the pending prosecution, then we'll know how many cases pending prosecution are you talking about, right? Another thing we probably want to hear will be if it's not pending prosecution, is it under active prosecution? That could be another status. You could say active prosecution is another status. That could be something that's clear. So if it's not active prosecution, so if I don't want to say it is active prosecution, something else I could say beside it. So if it's not active prosecution, could it be so under investigation, pending prosecution, active prosecution, um, can we say dismiss? Yeah, this case is dismissed. I mean, it's no longer another indication could be successfully prosecuted, meaning we will know of that long list you gave us. We will know under the status. We will know that this is under investigation, so we can count and see, oh, how many cases are under investigation. We can know. You could say pending prosecution, so we can say, oh, okay, they want to already finish passing the investigation stage. Maybe they got enough information to prosecute, so it's pending prosecution because there's no court date for it yet, right? And then we can also see and say, also we know how many of those under investigation, how many of those pending prosecution, and then we probably can say active prosecution. So we can say, well, we know how many of these cases are actively being prosecuted. Right now in court, we can know the court dates and set everything. So we can follow up. The journalist can go there and run to the court and say, oh, these cases are actively scheduled for prosecution or they're ongoing and these are the dates, and, they are set for and they are being prosecuted on. So we are able to follow. Or you probably might say successfully prosecuted, meaning the other cases that are on the docket that you see listed here for 2024, they were investigated, they were prosecuted, and they were successfully prosecuted. And, so which means government Liberia got money back from it, or if we didn't get money back from it, maybe the person was how they can call it acquitted. Maybe they were not charged for anything, and then that probably may take us to the next case. And, and then we can also see dismiss. Dismiss means you investigated a thing, you didn't find any merit in the accusation against the person, and then you just dismiss it. Yeah, so the under the status column, please update. This is not about showing that we know more, trying to make it seem like you don't know what you're doing, whatever the case is. Probably was just an oversight on your part. And maybe the list you gave us was incomplete. Maybe just one section of the different listing. Maybe you have listing that has these other categories in it, and you just didn't finish posting all of the different categories. Well, whatever the case is, please update. And that's why listen. That's why public conversation is about, and that's what public conversation is for, where we can discuss issues as a country, and then we can give our one or two ideas and opinion to improve our country. So last but not the least, I want to talk about the CSA, Civil Service Agency. So under the Civil Service Agency situation, what I want to bring up is the issue about Josiah Joker. Joker wants to enforce attendance, public service attendance. Let me just say straight up. There are a couple of things that we need to know. But first, let me say, look, you're doing good job. I think your intentions are good. I think what you want to achieve is good. I think your mind is in the right place. I think, Josiah, what you want to accomplish could be good for Liberia as well. But again, let us not forget, right? In the 21st century, there's something called Kaizen, there's something called growth mindset, there's something called continual improvement. And these are all managerial, supervisorial knowledge and understanding that refer to continuing to build on. And sometimes just punishment is not, it's not going to call it, it's being rigid and being strong arming people and trying to punish them for things that are not done is just not the solution alone. And I'm not saying trying to punish people is wrong. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying sometimes you want to ensure that when you work with people, you want to give them what is necessary in terms of tools and logistics that will help them to make their work more and make the work easier, more productive. And that's where my conversation comes in. So when I read the notice from the Civil Service Agency from Josiah Joker, and then you say uh, their HR staff across civil service spending entities who supposed to have been executing physical, I use the word physical, physical ledger physical ledger for attendance. Physical ledger for attendance will mean people come to work, they got to sign in, and when they're leaving from work, they got to sign out. Is that a bad thing? No. We did that way back in the way back in the days. We did those things, physical ledger. And when I say we did it, kind of thing way back in the day, I mean to say those methods are antiquated. I mean, they are old fashioned. You want to run an entire country civil service and you want people to keep track of physical paper that they will sign on and sign in and sign out on. Is that something we did before in the past? Yes. Is that something that you could do temporarily? Yes. Is that something we should be doing in the 21st century? No. Josiah, you are even upgrading, you are modernizing your civil service office that I saw you putting and setting up the other day, right? So you have the mind to improve on things. So I would say to you, my own common recommendation to you is that if you want to be successful, it is not enough to be rigid, because you want to be rigid or you want to. Some people will do that because they want to show off, right? I'm saving government money because I'm prorating people performance in terms of their pay. So say if they didn't sign in a physical paper there and the civil service or the HR department could not track when you sign in, when you sign out on what day, and then they will cross you out and then they will deduct from your pay. Listen, we need to go past that. Josiah Joker. We need to go past that. Let me tell you something. Even in developed country where we are, and then we have to people who do hourly job, they have to clock in on an hourly basis for lunch and other kind of clock out. Or in other cases, others who are not on the hourly salary, but just to show that you came to work, you use your time card. See my badge. This badge I can when I tap my badge when I enter in my office, it shows in my department that I'm in the building. If I hit it, it means I'm out of the building. But let me give you some technical points here. If I'm not in the building, it doesn't mean that I'm not working. If I didn't come to work, say today, it doesn't mean I'm not working. So there are many factors that may impact my in the building and my out of the building in the same way, because I'm not an hourly employee, right? But I'm not being in the building and it didn't show up that I didn't clock into the building doesn't mean that I didn't work that day. All right. I'm a salary employee, so I don't need to do time for hourly pay. I'm just saying some who do clock in for hourly pay, clock in for hourly pay, from my experience working other places, even though their time check is electronic, they are honest, genuine. Reason why the timekeeping may be off. Genuine reason why the timekeeping may be off. And there's a rigorous process of providing them opportunity to make corrections for those times that are off. And then we have where the HR, you mentioned HR, where they have to go back and correct those mistakes. Imagine doing that for the entire country or hire people. So the motive, the intention is good, the motivation, the drive is good, but the process is it's achy. It's achy. And I say this to say that I've been in Liberia and I work in Liberia for more than 20 plus years. And I have my own organization and stuff where I try to go through the same staff you sign in. I know how much, how much difficult that is for Liberia. And I'm telling you, all of the things that we're talking about, people should sign a physical plan. We know that people who in Liberia who don't go to work on time, they leave from work before time. We understand all of that. They're saying we need to step up, we need to move up, we need to upgrade an Excel spreadsheet to track a physical paper ledger for attendance in Liberia. I don't think it's a smart move. It's a good thing, but it is not a smart move. The execution of that good idea is not a smart move. We need to upgrade. And I can say for a fact that upgrade is not complex. It's not complex. It's achievable in our current status and time. It's achievable, easily achievable. Just get the right component, put in the right dollars, and it's achievable. It's achievable. And that's my recommendation to you. On withholding people pay, people's salary and cutting people pay based on that paper ledger, I'm saying, and I will say to you, Josiah, it's a major problem. And let me tell you why. Because there are so many things that could go wrong with that paper ledger. That will not mean necessarily that the person did not sign on that paper ledger intentionally because they did not go to job. There are so much things that could go wrong. And the human capacity to be able to address all of those HR complications so that the person pay can be genuinely withheld. That person will need every penny they need to survive. To prove that the money should be genuinely withheld. For that to happen, you have to give them due process. You're going to have ample time. In the US here, they got call centers where you have to call and the person will have a step to solve that problem. Understand why your time is off. And not only understand why your time is off, they are not calling, they are not responding to your call with a punitive mindset. Punitive mindset means I'm answering your call because I want to catch you that you didn't go to work. No, they answering your call in order to facilitate your genuine concerns that your time is being miscalculated. So they're there to help you. They're not there to say, "Oh, I catch you," trying to steal government time. No, they say, "Oh yeah, how can I help you?" Give me justifiable reasons why your time is off, and you have to give them a good cause. My concern to you, Josiah Joker, do we have the HR capacity to sit down on every single day that with the 5, 10, 20 working days, 8 hours in a 7 hours in a day, because 1 hour is maybe not paid hour, whatever the case, but 8 hours, 'cause we don't do hourly work in Liberia for civil servant, we do salaries, right? So how you able to count how many hours the person miss? How you able to count that the person came late and how many hours they're going to get deducted from their pay? How can your HR guys then do that thing effectively to fairly say that the money you took from the people who are working for peanuts already, how can you justify that deduction from them? That the HR department at the zero spending agency did due diligence, and that the ledger that they sent to your office, what you call the Excel spreadsheets, that your staff at the civil service level were able to Counter check that spreadsheet. Do diligence before affecting these people negatively. What appeal process did you give them? Those are all critical issues. So they could go to the labor ministries and they could challenge you. And I can say for certain that if they challenge you, Josiah Joker, majority of the people money, the peanuts that people already receiving and the money they're waiting for to pay the children's school fee and take care of their families, those hard-earned money that you kept from those people that you say you prorated, you have to pay the money back. You have to pay the money back. Because listen, physical ledger for the entire civil service spending agency, that's not small work. That's not small work. In America, yeah, there is a whole core center just to do with attendance issues. Even though there is electronic, you didn't even go to say first, or some of the pieces of paper got missing, or somebody tear the sheet, or somebody scratch something, or somebody sign for somebody, or somebody did not sign for somebody. All the other argument and there. The project going just do pam and pass, but they have volume of calls to fix problems. What more about physical paper that somebody got to sign on? Let me close on this, Josiah. If you pay attention, anybody from civil service agency paying attention, let me say this. There's nothing wrong with the good intentions, but there's so much wrong with the method, the methodology, with the process and the procedure to executing that good intention. Don't try to correct issues in government out of punitive motivation. Let it be, let it be executed on the basis of positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement. Oh, I see you guys are doing well, trying to show up for jobs. Since we've been advising people to show up for jobs. So to encourage you to even do more, we are bringing you a new method where you can sign in when you come to work. From now on, your ID cards that you got as workers, all you gotta do is just tap this ID card on this little thing on your door when you enter in the office. It will show that you came to work that day. If we have reason to doubt that you came to work, we'll go in the system and we'll look at how you tap your badge. You can do that. You can do that. And, so we can do that. Look, let's take our country. Look, let our improvement in our country governing system be what we call to sustainable. So that even when you move from there tomorrow, nobody say, Josiah, you got 9 years again. At least that through it with that hard paper, everything can be signing. No, it should be sustainable. Josiah Joker, you move and you go to different position. People still got the ID card and they just hitting the pin when they enter the office, pin when they enter the office. Because the system is sustainable. No, not because you say you got 9 years again, that's with a hard copy. No. Last but not the least, let me ask you, yeah. Are we saying the ministers and the deputy ministers and the assistant ministers and the directors are signing a hard copy too? Or are we targeting the underdogs, the underprivileged, the poor people who are not getting transportation to come to work, who cannot get to the office because the motorbikes are now being stopped from going to Central Monrovia, where majority of the government offices are, who will be in traffic trying to get to work and can't get to the office on time because there's no taxi to take them there, who may even leave to go to lunch, legitimately leave to go to lunch, but can't come out on time because of traffic. The buses who getting free cars, free gasoline, everything, are they signing a ledger too? That's a big question. So we look forward, in closing, we look forward to, thank you for joining me. And this was the melting pot with Dr. Clarence Pearson. And what we come in and we just gave our honest opinion and our own recommendation to our government and to see how best we can contribute to our country forward march. I also thank you for viewing. Thank you for being online with me today. I discussed the issue about the House of Representatives waiting for the Supreme Court clarification on the bit of information submitted by Speaker Kofa. I discussed the LACC, all right, and then I discussed the Civil Service Agency recent policy, that the statement that they put out there, deducting people's salaries because they feel they did not sign on a physical ledger that should have been submitted through HR Departments on Spending Agency in an Excel spreadsheet. If you want to go through the entire stuff, go back to the start. It was a pleasure being with you. Have a good and wonderful rest of your day.